1, 2, 3, 4.
My name's Robbie Collin, film critic and Annette superfan, and I am delighted to introduce the writers of the film and the minds behind the songs, Ron and Russell Mael of Sparks.
Hello, glad to be here.
Hello, thank you so much for joining us virtually in Edinburgh this evening, and huge congratulations on the film. There's so much to talk about with this that I don't really know where even to begin, but the beginnings are probably a good place to start. So can you tell me, what was the initial thought that led to Annette? And was it always planned as a film, or could it have been something that would have worked in another format, do you think?
Well, originally it wasn't planned as a film. Originally we had envisioned this as being Sparks' next album 9 years ago. We came up with the story and the subsequent music for it about 9 years ago, and we thought we wanted to try framing Sparks' music in a narrative format for the next album, thinking it would be something interesting. We'd had some previous taste of that with a project we did, The Seduction of Ingmar Bergman, which was a project which was commissioned by the Swedish National Radio to do a radio music drama. So we really liked that experience and thought might be a cool idea and just something that would really be inspiring for us to try doing another narrative project. So we weren't able to tour with the Seduction of Ingmar Bergman because it was had 12 characters in it, and it was just prohibitive to do that. But we came up with this other idea, Annette, which has basically only 3 characters in it, and we thought, well, this would be great because I could play the character that Adam Driver is doing now in the movie. Ron would be the conductor character, and then we would have an extra opera singer woman to join us on the live touring venture.
Laugh.
8 years ago, we went to the Cannes Film Festival, met Leos Carax, who had used one of Sparks' songs in his last film, Holy Motors, a song called How Are You Getting Home, off of one of our older albums. And as a result of meeting him, we really connected with him. We really liked him personally. We love his films. So we got back to LA after that Cannes episode, and we thought we'd just send this project to Leos and just get his reaction, not expecting or even soliciting anything, really, just wanting to. He's a fan of the band, so we wanted to show him what we were up to. And he said, wow, this is really this is interesting. Let me think about this. So a couple weeks elapsed. He came back to us and said, I'd really like to direct this as my next film. And here we are, flash forward 8 years later, and it was the opening film at the Cannes Film Festival, and since escalated to having Adam Driver, Marion Cotillard take over the roles that we initially had done.
How did the show go?
I killed them, destroyed them, murdered them.
Good boy.
And your gig?
I saved them.
It's a project that it took an incredibly long time to put together. I mean, had you thought about speaking to any other directors before Leos Carax, or was it just purely that serendipitous meeting in Cannes that made you think, actually, this might work as a film?
It was only Leos Carax, because we weren't kind of shopping the film to other directors. We never really thought of it as being a film, and when we sent it to Leos, he's the one that said, I'd like to direct this. And we always were huge fans of his films, and there always is a really amazing musical sequence in every one of Leos Carax's previous films. So we had confidence that when he did say that he wanted to direct this as a full-blown musical, that he would be able to carry that off for 2 hours and 20 minutes, just because he has such a strong music sensibility as well.
Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in. Breathe
the script change once you'd shown it to Carax? Because he has such an incredibly particular style, and he's got his own worldview, and he's intrigued by certain themes across the whole course of his career. Now, were those already in Annette when you gave it to him, or was it kind of reshaped around his own way of doing things?
Well, I think that there was something really essential in Annette that really reached him in a personal kind of way. But he made also very clear at the beginning that just because of the kind of director he was, that he would want some input in perhaps, altering a few of the lyrics, and along, during the 8-year period, he did have a couple of suggestions for extra musical pieces. The Abyss was something that wasn't a part of the original version that we had, but I think we're really fortunate because the basic kind of sensibility of what Annette is something that seemed to reach him in a personal way. So that wasn't something that needed to be altered. It was just kind of some of the things on the fringes, and also just developing it from a theater piece to a film. He felt that some of the characters needed to be more well-rounded and more kind of described in various ways. They couldn't be quite as sketchy as they might have been in a theater piece.
I'm an accompanist. I'm an accompanist. I'm an accompanist for Anne. Anne's the one with the genius, the grace. I'm the one with the technical expertise.
Were they always the two leads, a stand-up comedian and an opera singer? I mean, is there something about those two particular roles, those styles of performance that appealed to you, or were those things that were pinned down later on?
Those were always in the original version. We wanted to find kind of iconic, I hate to use the term show business, but just some kind of performing arts roles that would be interesting in a musical. And an opera singer is kind of more obviously the connection to music is kind of easier to grasp, but it seemed like being able to develop a stand-up comedian and have him become a part of a use what he is doing in a musical sense was a challenge that we really enjoyed, and also the contrast between a stand-up comedian and an opera singer that helped, I think, to enhance the contrast between the personalities of those two characters. It was really enjoyable for us to put, in particular, the stand-up comedian's role into a musical context.
And he was attached to this before he did the singing in the Coen Brothers film Inside Llewyn Davis, and also in Marriage Story, the Noah Baumbach film, because those were two of the big, talked about scenes in those films, and really even certainly with the Coens film before Adam Driver was a known star. But was he attached to Annette before those films had come out? Certainly before Marriage Story.
Yeah, before Marriage Story. I believe the Coen Brothers one he had done previous to being attached to Annette, but yeah. So I mean, and he had some background. He went to Juilliard apparently, and so he does have a musical background. But we were sometimes worried that a musical background could be the wrong kind of background for stylistically for what we felt a modern movie musical should be. But he was able to kind of express all of those kind of really deep emotions, but in a very naturalistic kind of way. And that was something that, just was ideal for the whole tone of the film. I mean, we are, one of our favorite movie musicals. It isn't necessarily a Hollywood films that we looked to, but it was Jacques Demy's The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, where the singing isn't kind of all of a sudden breaking into song and having people dancing in the streets. It's all done in kind of a naturalistic way, both from the performances and then also from the movements, and also that there are scenes that are very kind of mundane, in car garages or something like that, where it isn't that something important in a way is being expressed in a scene. And that was, even if Annette doesn't sound stylistically at all like the Jacques Demy musicals, we were kind of influenced just where it's kind of a straight through narrative from beginning to end of vocals within a musical context and also in a naturalistic context.
All the girls I see look so great to me. But what amazes me is what they see in me.
Was there ever a sense in which you thought Annette should carry through one style from beginning to end? It should be a kind of a, stylistically self-contained, rather than where there's kind of elements of Sondheim here, there's Andrew Lloyd Webber there, there's obviously straight opera with Marion Cotillard's work. Tell me about finding, and specifically if there were like reference points like Demy that you wanted to kind of say, okay, so we have to do a scene like this, we need a number to sound like that.
No, we never thought that there had to be a consistency stylistically from one piece to the other. Even though there are stylistic changes from piece to piece, we felt that there was the right balance between the pieces where there's some more traditional orchestral sort of pieces, and then there's ones that are kind of more from the pop world. And so we thought there was just the right balance between those musically stylistic elements.
We love each other so much.
We love each other so much.
Ron, I want to quickly go back to something that you mentioned during about the shooting of the shipwreck scene, the boat scene, about this idea that the artificiality somehow kind of heightens the emotional affect rather than distracting from it. To me, this is the kind of key common ground between your music and Leos Carax's films, is that you have there's this kind of humor and the surreality and artifice and irony and all of this stuff going on, but they don't obscure the emotions involved. They really clarify and intensify what the core message of the song is, or what the core message of the film is. And I think in Annette that comes across particularly powerfully with the fact that the baby is being played by a puppet, because the rational part of your brain knows that you're looking at a puppet and there must be someone, manipulating this, or a team of people manipulating this puppet behind the scenes. But the performance that puppet gives in the film is incredibly tender and heartbreaking at moments. So look, tell me about this. Did you actually write the role of Annette as to be played by a puppet, or was this something that was thrashed out? And tell me about kind of your feelings about that particular performance and how it all worked.
To be honest, we have to give credit to Leos for coming up with the idea of Annette being a puppet, until a certain point. And just it really did fit kind of a certain positive artificiality, I think, and the fact that the actors are responding to this puppet as if it were real all the time. To us, not being actors, it was an amazing thing. There never is a doubt in your mind that they believe that this is real. And Leos knew a kind of a troupe of puppeteers in France, and these people were so skilled at being able to provide a puppet that had kind of all the emotions of a real actor. So we were really happy with that choice. When we originally wrote the piece and we were going to perform it, just from a budgetary standpoint, our thought was just to go to a toy shop and buy a $10 doll and stuff it in a pram and then have the sound coming out. So in a certain sense, it is a variation on the original idea, but much more sophisticated than our version.
Ron and Russell, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
For us as well. Thank you.
Love each other.